I'll pay all the alimony and the child support in one go. Just please divorce me.
I don't want to.
What the hell? I'm asking you sincerely here. Please divorce me.
My husband was literally on his knees, begging for a divorce. Over my dead body! You're not divorcing me, and you are going to help raise your own child. My name is Bonnie Sanderson, and I'm a 30-year-old office woman working in accounting at a branch for an electronics conglomerate. My husband, Jan, also works in an office for a company that has partners overseas. He is a very handsome man, and I couldn't be more proud of having him as my husband. When we were dating, he was so damn amazing, there were times I felt so insecure. The fact that I still think he's so amazing is proof that I truly love him. I don't know what I would do if something happened to him. Such was us, and we've been married for 3 years. Unfortunately, we found it was difficult to conceive a child, and in our 2nd year of marriage, we started taking treatment for fertility. Even so, I never got pregnant, and we started to think that we couldn't have children at all, ever. This reality made me realize that I was putting a lot of pressure on my husband. It became especially apparent when he became increasingly more frustrated at home. I'm so sorry, honey. I feel terrible about this. I hate to put you through this. If I'd been talking to the Jan I first fell in love with, he would have replied like,
Don't worry about it, honey. We're family anyway. Let's just be patient and keep trying.
Or something like that. I'm positive he would have responded in a kind, composed manner. But this was not the case in the present. Instead, he lets out his frustration, albeit very repressively.
I'm feeling a lot of pressure from my parents to have grandchildren, Bonnie. For real though, when are we going to have a grandchild? If you can't get pregnant, then you can't. Nothing we can do about it. Why don't we just give up?
I never expected these words from him, and the sheer brutality of them left me in shock. I was so shocked that I started to cry right then and there. Perhaps Jan immediately regretted what he said when he saw my reaction, because he said,
Oh, Don, I'm real sorry. I'm just frustrated. This doesn't seem to be working out, but I'm not going to give up. Not now, not ever. Let's do our best, okay?
His words consoled me. I don't know why I didn't realize sooner, but I was letting myself be spoiled by his kindness and easily swayed by his voice and his words. A year later, I was able to get pregnant, the child of our dreams. I wanted to tell my husband so badly, and before I could stop myself, I called him. I called him even though I knew he was at work. I knew he would be thrilled.
You do realize I'm at work, right?
I'm sorry, honey. I just couldn't wait to tell you. I just went to my gynecologist, and I tested positive. Honey, after so long, I'm so happy to finally tell you I'm pregnant. I just knew he was going to scream with joy. That's what I genuinely thought, and with all my heart and soul. I couldn't contain the excitement. I wanted to hear his happy voice for the first time in a while. I waited for him to answer, and then...
Oh. Is that so?
Wait, what? That's it?
I'm at work, honey, so I have to be excused right now.
That's all he said before he hung up on me. I did notice he's been acting strange lately, but I didn't think he wouldn't be happy about my pregnancy. That was the last thing I expected, so it shouldn't be a big surprise to tell you that I was honestly very shocked. Despite the shock, I decided to tell my parents and my in-laws the good news, and of course, both my own parents and my parent-in-laws were very happy. Their reactions were explosive, exactly what I was hoping to hear from Jan. Jan did say that he was feeling pressure from his parents to give him their grandbabies. But I know they would never do that. They are the sweetest angels known to man, the larks, and they are very kind to me. They loved me like I was their own daughter. They knew we were going through treatment for infertility, and not only they periodically checked in on how things were going, their words were very encouraging. And every time I saw them, they would cheer me up and buy me things that I liked. When they told me that Jan must have also been over the moon, I just couldn't tell them the truth. I couldn't give them bad news after such good news, and by that point, I didn't even know what Jan would do if his parents found out he wasn't happy in the slightest. I told them that he was very happy indeed, and they sounded very pleased to hear that. I couldn't tell Mrs. Locke that her own son reacted the complete opposite. Even when I came home, Jan never mentioned anything about my pregnancy, or anything else about parenting and other stuff like that. And even after a few days, he didn't seem to care about my health. I was suffering from morning sickness, and he didn't even bother to check how I was. The nausea was so bad, it was hard for me to cook, and yet he would say,
"Why isn't there any dinner ready?"
"Morning sickness, honey. It's pretty bad. I don't feel well enough to cook tonight, so I think you should order a delivery."
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I heard you were pregnant, but I didn't hear that you were slacking off on house chores.
I'm not being lazy. It's just that it's really hard not to barf every couple minutes.
Just whip something up quickly. I don't care what it is. I just want your cooking. I don't really want to go out to eat or order a delivery.
In the end, my husband still made me cook for him, even though I was feeling ghastly. It took more than twice as long as usual, but my husband wasn't worried at all. He instead said,
"What the hell's taking so long? Shake a leg, will ya?"
Not only was he not caring about my health, but if I took time off from housework because of the morning sickness, he treats me like I'm a lazy nobody. I've had to deal with this for what seemed like an eternity, and I have to tell you, it was one of the hardest things I've had to experience. But experiencing stress while being pregnant is never a good thing, so I tried my best not to think about it. And then, a few months passed, and the morning sickness started to go away. Our last engagement anniversary together, just the two of us, before the birth of our child had arrived. Every year we had dinner at the restaurant where he proposed to me, and we were supposed to go there this time too. But out of the blue, I got a call from my husband, and I suppose you can imagine what it was about by this point.
"Listen, lots of work came up all of a sudden and I can't have dinner with you tonight."
No way. I'll reschedule. Just let me know what time you'll be home. That's all he said before he hung up on me. I just stood there, in the kitchen, holding a mug of hot chocolate too, stunned to move. If he would just go to dinner that night, in his now usual cold attitude, things might have changed. The next day, Jan came home. He didn't say he was sorry, and he didn't even look remorseful. I was so annoyed with him. "Don't you have anything to say, mister?"
It was about work. What do you freaking expect me to do? Risk my career for your sake?
Let's be hypothetical here, and assume you really were at work doing extra hours. Why couldn't you come home at all yesterday? That's never happened before. Why the hell would our own engagement anniversary be the very first time it happened?
Shut up. You freaking know I work a job that demands a lot of responsibility.
Well, maybe you're right, but a promise is a promise.
I never realised you were a human being with such a small amount of compassion. I'm tired, and I'm going to my room. Leave me alone.
My husband went to his room, slammed the door shut, and didn't come back out. A few days after the fight, my husband told me that he needed to talk to me.
I'm going on a business trip for 3 months.
3 months? But that's going to overlap with time I give birth. I'm worried that something might happen.
What do you want me to do about it? I don't have a choice. This is about work.
Oh, no.
Well, it's a done deal.
Is that so? All right, I understand. Good luck on your trip. I was worried, all right, but it was about his work, so I figured there was nothing I could do. I was sure he'd come straight home if anything happened. That's what I genuinely thought. And then he went on this business trip, and I never once heard from him. No calls, no voicemails, not even a stupid text message. I had a lot of anxiety, but thanks to my parent and parent-in-laws, I was pushing through, more hopeful with every passing day. 2 months after my husband went on his business trip, the due date was beginning to draw really near, and one fateful day, I had a strange feeling in my body. I felt pain in my abdomen, and I finally found out what labor pains felt like. I called my husband, but he didn't pick up the phone. Nor did he return any of my calls. I sent him a couple text messages to which I had zero response. I had no choice but to call Mrs. Larrock, my mother-in-law. I told her I was having contractions, and that I thought I needed to go to the hospital. She was very supportive and graciously took me to the hospital. I don't know what that stupid son of mine thinks he's doing. He may very well be working hard, but surely he must have some time to contact you somehow. A phone call could be easily done, if not at least a text message. Pretty disgraceful, don't you think? Yes, ma'am. I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't really understand what she was saying. The only thing I could truly comprehend was the fact that Mrs. Lark was angry with her son. A few hours after I was rushed to the hospital, a healthy baby girl was born. I named her Marion. After the birth, I called my husband several times, but he never answered, as you would expect. Eventually, he did contact me, but that was a couple days after I was discharged from the hospital.
You're so damn annoying with these phone calls, woman. What the hell do you want?
You have a baby daughter, Jan. You said you were going to be there when she was born, so I called you, but you never answered, much less showed up.
Well, work's been hella demanding, so that's all I can really say. That be all?
You just had a baby of your own, and that's how you react to such an amazing moment?
I'm just busy. So I'm hanging up now.
Hey, now wait just a minute. He wasn't even happy that I bore our beautiful baby. I was shocked to say the least, but his reaction wasn't the only thing that left me in disbelieving awe. In the background, I could hear a woman's voice, and it was loud enough to assume she was pretty much touching him. Hey, the movie's about to start. That was what I overheard. I was now sure that Jan, my own darling husband, who I thought was the most amazing guy in the world, was cheating on me. Was that bastard having an affair while I was suffering with labor pains and childbirth? It seemed preposterous. I'm sure he quickly hung up the phone, thinking I'd overheard the woman, but it was too late. I know what I heard. I'm gonna get even with you for what the hell you put me through. You better brace yourself, my good man, because you're really gonna feel the wrath of Bonnie Sanderson. I started checking my husband's social media activity, and I inquired his friends to try to find out whom he was having an affair with. The woman's name turned out to be Elsa, and she worked at the same company as my husband. On her social media, I found a post with a picture of a man I could almost confirm was my husband. A watch that I gave him for his birthday last year was on his left wrist. After he said he was going on a business trip, his social media posts have become a lot more active. I knew then that my husband's business trip was all a lie. In fact, he was living at his girlfriend's house. I did what I could to suppress the anger that was welling up inside of me, and I concentrated on raising my newborn daughter. As he said, Jan didn't come home until after 3 months had passed. Even after his own daughter was born, he never came to see her. That was when I knew I had reached my limit. Exactly 3 months after the first day, he initially went on his alleged business trip. He came back home, and I realized he hadn't done so alone. As he walked in through the front door, I noticed a woman behind him. She went on to flirtatiously say, "Nice to meet you, dear. I'm Elsa." The woman introduced herself, and then Jan went on to say,
I want a divorce.
I'm sorry for coming out of nowhere, but you see, I'm pregnant with Jan's child, dear. Please divorce him, so we can raise our child together. What are you talking about?
Bonnie, listen, you admit the passion in our relationship, in our marriage, went stone cold quite a while ago, right? That's when I happened to find Elsa here on the business trip. I was finally able to find true happiness, Bonnie. You know what they say, though. All good things must come to an end. And since that's the case, I'll pay all the alimony and child support in one go. Just please, divorce me.
I don't want to.
What the hell? I'm asking you sincerely here. Please divorce me.
When I told them both that I didn't want a divorce, my husband looked surprised. I then told my gaze over to the woman known as Elsa and found she looked more angry than surprised. Jan, love, you did sign the divorce document, right?
Yes, I did. Bonnie, look at these papers and know that I'm freaking serious here. Please, divorce me.
And I thought I made it clear I don't want a divorce. I laughed as I tore up the divorce document and threw the pieces into the fireplace. Jan seemed to have broken out in a cold sweat. He looked deathly pale, and the woman was fuming. It was honestly a priceless sight. Maybe they thought things weren't going to go their way. My stubbornness caught them off guard. "Hey, you there. Elena, right?" "Yes, dear. My name is Elsa, but I also see right through you, Miss Bonnie. You don't love Jan in the slightest. You only love his money, and that's all you're after." "Excuse me?" "He's recently been promoted, you know. His family runs a company, and ever since you found out, it's only a matter of time before Jan will eventually take over. You've been chasing after the opportunity to become the wife of a company president and live the life of extravagance. That's what you're after." "Everyone knows that he's in that company because he's destined to take over as president, don't they?" "Well, that's not what I meant. And since you're talking about alimony and child support like both of those are a walk in the park, I'll clue you in on some details. If you have an affair knowing you have a child, and wind up divorcing your wife because of that affair, when it comes to just alimony, it's legally possible to ask for $6 million, and I'd be demanding that much from you too, of course." "In that case, Jan's gonna pay my share, now won't you, love?"
No way, I don't freaking have $6 million stashed away, let alone double that.
"I know, right? And besides that, he doesn't save money very well either. Since this was all about Jan and his unfaithfulness, I'm sure you thought that he'd only pay about $1 million in alimony and child support combined. Tell me I'm wrong." Perhaps that question I asked my husband hit the nail on the head, because he shut up. Over my dead body, some puny punishment like that be bestowed upon these traitors. I turned to the woman who he'd been cheating on me with. "And you still mean to tell me you want this man to divorce his lawfully wedded wife and marry him yourself?" "Well, you'd rather pay double $6 million, divorce me, and marry this woman who clearly wants your money more than she thinks I do?" "Let me remind you, I never had a clue you're the heir to be the president of the company until after I discovered who Mr. Lark is. And while the notion of money was adamantly tempting, I would have loved you and married you even if you weren't the heir. So what's it gonna be, Still want a divorce and marry this girl?"
Well, that's...
"All right, I've had enough. Fine, you win. I'll break up with him. I'm done."
Wait, else, darling.
"Go after her, honey. Go after her and pay me the $6 million. That's what I told him, realizing he was completely defeated. Jan thought it was impossible to go after the one he truly loved, so he collapsed onto his knees.
I'm so sorry. Please, forgive me.
"All right, I forgive you this time. Pray you don't disappoint me again, honey," I told him with a smile. Jan looked genuinely relieved. He never ceases to amaze me with how much of an idiot he can really be. I let my husband think that our relationship as husband and wife was fully restored before I contacted his company about the affair. My husband, being in a substantially responsible position and the heir to inherit the company as president one day, was spared his neck. Elsa, the woman whom he was having an affair with, on the other hand, was promptly fired from her job. I'm sure Jan lost a lot of credibility at the company because of his huge mistakes, and for a while after that, my husband had to gain back the company's trust in him as an employee. And my trust in him as my husband. He started coming home early from work, and on his days off, he went to the park with me, walking with his daughter in his arms, and me pushing the stroller beside him. He was actually doing a pretty good job playing the roles of an ideal father and an ideal husband. But then one day, my husband made a very serious mistake at work. It turned out the corporate information of a new company that had recently signed a business contract with his own company was leaked to the public. And the sole culprit for this mistake was my husband, who had dropped the USB drive containing the company's corporate information. It ended up in the hands of someone from a third party, and needless to say, the consequences were devastating. With his credibility already at stake because of his affair, he wasn't careful enough, and his company lost all faith in him as an employee after making a mistake like this. Of course, he was officially fired from his job. After that, my husband told Mr. Lark, his father, that he had been fired from his job and asked him to hire him. It must have taken a lot of courage for my father-in-law to turn down his own son. My husband came home very depressed that day.
I'm so sorry, Bonnie. He got fired from his job and Dad for some reason was mad at me and he wouldn't hire me.
Oh dear, is that so? I'm sorry to hear that. That must have been devastating.
I'll find another job. Just wait till then. I'm gonna take good care of you. Both of my darling girls.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm rooting for you. You just do your best and get another job. Did you really think I was gonna say all that? When I said that, he obviously looked surprised.
What do you mean?
I've been waiting for you to hit rock bottom. To tell you the truth, I always wanted a divorce, ever since you came back home that day with that flirty slut bag. You're not even very good at your job. You basically relied on your father to help you get promoted in the company, didn't you? I knew it was only a matter of time before you made a big mistake at work.
No way.
And Daddy was mad at you for some reason? But of course he was, honey. Think. Why is it so obvious? Well, I obviously told him you cheated on me. I told him that even though I was going through a difficult time with our daughter, what with her due date closing in, all the labor pains that led up to the birth, and with the birth itself that left me in the hospital for a whole week afterwards, you didn't contact me at all, much less call me. And you never did come to see Marion, your own beautiful daughter, after she was born. I honestly didn't think you'd hit rock bottom so soon. Right when you found out Elsa had lost her job, you started acting like the man of my dreams, the father I knew Marion deserved. It was disgusting. I'm sure my words felt like bullets to him, because he then collapsed to his knees. I want a divorce. And also, I'm gonna demand the alimony for the affair of a few weeks ago, along with monthly child support.
I lost my job, Bonnie. How am I supposed to pay for that?
I don't care. It's your mistake, and you're gonna have to take responsibility for it. I'll personally make sure you do. And of course, I'm gonna hold your cheating girlfriend accountable too. I told him that I pushed the divorce document in front of him. I urged my husband to fill them out, and he resisted. You can resist all you want, honey, but if you must, I'm going to have to hire a lawyer, and so will you, and settle it through divorce mediation. It'll cost you more money, by the way. That's all I ever said. Perhaps the word money made him scared all the more, because after that one sentence, he signed the document without any resistance. I took it, packed a few of my things, and left with Marion. And through my lawyer, I demanded my husband $6 million in alimony and child support, and further demanded Elsa, the woman whom he was having an affair with, $4 million in alimony. Jan, socked from his job and plagued with the gargantuan amount of alimony and child support, was left with no savings. Instead of finding another job and saving up, he had to go in debt. He sold the apartment he was living in, but that still wasn't enough. Nowadays, he's working day and night work to make ends meet and pay off his debt. Meanwhile, Elsa's declaration that she was pregnant with Jan's baby was a lie. Seemed I was right about her after all. She really was after Jan's money and nothing else. She must have thought if she told me she was pregnant, he would divorce me and she would have him all for herself. After getting fired from her job, she couldn't find another regular job with steady income, and eventually went back to her parents' home, doing nothing really. But then, she was sued for alimony, and so she had to find work. Someone told me she now works in the adult industry to try and pay the alimony she owes me. As for me, I moved back to my parents' home with Marion, trying hard to balance raising my child with a full-time job. I still keep in touch with my parent-in-laws, and Marion's taking quite a liking to her both sets of grandparents. Things may not have worked out with my husband, but I do plan to continue to have a good relationship with my parent-in-laws. I decided to live my life as a single parent, promising my darling Marion that I would protect her from anything sad and negative. You heard it here first, folks. I vow to do my absolute best for my daughter and raise her to become a wonderful, beautiful, independent woman. And I will never forget my gratitude towards my parent and my parent-in-laws, and give them lots of time with their granddaughter.